Well, welcome everyone to this thought for the day for the 2nd of April 2020. I pray that you are all well and are staving off the virus. However, if you are suffering or there are people that you know who are suffering at this time, our thoughts and our prayers are with them at this time. And we pray for full recovery. Today's thought for the day is being inspired really by listening to a podcast that I listen to, which is called The Bible for Normal People. And there was a particular chap on there called Jack Levinson, who's an Old Testament scholar and was talking about the Spirit of God. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that Spirit today. And the reason that it prompted me is that, as we know, this coronavirus is a virus that affects people's lungs and breathing. Hence, those who suffer the worst effects of it require ventilators and artificial means by which to keep them alive, breathing as they hopefully recover. But Jack Levinson was saying that he did this intensive study of this word in the Old Testament called ruach, which we translate in English because English isn't such a strong language as Hebrew, as either wind or breath or spirit with a capital S, meaning God's Spirit, or spirit with a little s, meaning our own spirit, the spirit within us, the thing that makes us us. And he also talks about the fact that actually this carries over into the New Testament as well, with the Greek word pneuma, the same word that we get pneumonia from, that same breathing, that breath, but it also means spirit. And so we've got this one word in both Hebrew and in the Greek that we translate in all sorts of ways. And one of the problems we have with that is that we try and parcel it up into little bits. And we can't do that. Actually, it means all of those things at once. So just when we say that we have breath in us, when we breathe, which is ruach, actually what we're saying is that we have God's Spirit and our own spirit coursing in and out of us at the same time. And we can't distinguish one from the other. They are all present at this time. And when you think about it, it makes sense of those passages where it says that God is the author and sustainer of all life. When you don't have any breath in you, you don't have life. When you cease to breathe, or as the colloquialism says, when you breathe your last, it means that you no longer have that life force flowing in and out of you. So at this time, when this virus affects the way that people breathe, we can look at things in another way, in that even if they cease to stop breathing physically and unfortunately die, their eternal breath isn't quashed. They still retain their own spirit, the spirit with a little s, because it's integrantly part of the big spirit, the big S spirit, the breath of life itself. The same breath of life that was breathed in to Adam and Eve at the beginning, when God created us in his own image. It's that breath that sustains all living creatures. And you can think that, isn't it a wonderful thing that every time we breathe in, we are bringing God into ourselves. Every time we breathe out, we are handing God back out into the society, into the world, for someone else to take God into themselves. This constant receiving and giving of God to one another through our sheer breath. The Hebrew word for God, which obviously the Jewish faith don't pronounce because it's not to be pronounced, but we in the West obviously call it Yahweh, is very much linked to the sound that we make when we breathe. The very fact that we have God on our tongues and in our lungs and in our whole being every time we breathe connects us beyond anything else. And at those moments when we cease to breathe, that moment when our physical form is no use to us anymore, our spirit, our breath, joins the eternal breath, God's Spirit, and continues. It's a comforting thought in troubled times, particularly when there are so many who are struggling for breath at this time. For those who are on ventilators, for those who make it through, and for those who don't. For those who make it through and recover, they continue to participate in this receiving and giving of the Spirit of God between each other and all creation. And for those who haven't, their spirit joins the eternal Spirit and becomes part of the whole. So I hope and pray for all those who are struggling at this time, that they know that the Spirit of God is in them and with them and through them, and will carry them even if it is through death. The Spirit cannot be succumbed to death, as we know through the resurrection of Jesus Christ.